guys, today we'll be going over the break-in and tuning guide. Now this guide, or the concepts explained in this guide, will apply to all Nitro engines, but the specific needle valves settings that I'll be mentioning will apply to the entire 1/10 scale lineup from Exceed RC. That'll be all the VX.16 and the VX.18 engines. The tools you'll need will be your fuel bottle with 20% nitro fuel. You'll also want to bring with you a flathead screwdriver to tune those needle settings. You'll need a fully charged glow plug igniter, your cross wrench, and a couple of extra glow plugs because they do tend to go bad or foul out during the break-in process. Now all these tools and the fuel bottle you can get with your car. It's the starter kit, and you can order that if you do decide to purchase one of these awesome buggies. So before you get started, you want to make sure all the components for your engine are thoroughly checked and in good working condition. This is a new car, but I'm mentioning that just in case you have a car that was handed down to you, or if you're rebuilding your car, you do want to make sure your fuel tank is nicely and tightly sealed. Your fuel lines are good, non-leaking. Your exhaust pipe is not blocked. It's got good flow. Your air filter, it's clean. You just want to make sure all the components for the engine are working good, so that when you're tuning, you're not tuning around the problem and you're actually tuning the engine. First thing I like to do is to pull out the glow plug. I've already checked this one, but basically after you pull out the glow plug, you want to check to make sure it's glowing. So you just put it on there, make sure it's glowing nice and bright. Once you know your glow plug is glowing, I like to check my carburetor opening. So I take off the air filter and I peek inside. Make sure it's about a millimeter opening. Start off with a millimeter opening. Now you want to check that setting with everything on, so that everything's set. Your throttle trim on your transmitter is centered, and that your throttle servo is working properly. Once you have that checked out, I like to roll the car back and forth and check the brakes, make sure they're working good. So the brakes are working good. Once you have everything checked out, throttle linkage is working good, pour fuel in there and go outside and get it started. I forgot to mention, you also want to check that your needle settings are at factory settings. For the VX.16 and .18 engines, this is about 2.5 to 3 turns out. Depending on your location, it may be either too rich or too lean. I like to start it with 2.5 turns out. So basically it should be set from the factory, but to double check, turn it clockwise until it stops. Just so it stops, don't force it in, and back it out about 3 turns or 2.5 turns. I'll do 2.5. So that's 1 turn, it's 2, and that's in half, 2.5 turns. Now your low speed needle, I like to make it so that it's flush with the housing. So make that flush, and just pour some fuel into the tank. Once you have fuel poured into the tank, you're ready to go outside and break it in. Alright guys, so we're going to go ahead and start the engine. Make sure your glow plug igniter is fully charged. What you want to first do is to make sure your carburetor is primed. So you want to make sure fuel is running through your lines. I already primed it, but basically you plug your finger over the exhaust or the carb. I like to do it from the exhaust. Plug your finger over there, give the pull cord a couple of rips until you see fuel running to your carburetor. Once it's primed, you're ready to throw your igniter on there and start her up. Engine's a little cold now, so it can die out. Remember, this is a rich setting, so it can be a little erratic and die out. What I'm gonna do is just get it started, try to get it up to operating temperature, and then cruise it around. Alright, so I'm gonna drive around now. I'm just going to slowly do this, figure eights for about 2 tanks. Let the engine break in. Once it's broken in, you can lean it out and get the most performance out of your engine. Just remember not to do any high-speed runs when your engine is fresh out the box. This rich setting allows the engine to stay lubricated and let the internals mate with each other nice and tightly. Alright, I'm going to come back. 2 ways to cut the engine. You can plug the exhaust or you can pinch the fuel line. So basically we're just going to do that for 2 tanks. Once it's broken in, on your 3rd tank you can start leaning out the mixture and getting the most performance out of your engine. Alright guys, so once you have your 2 tanks running rich through, you want to start leaning out your mixtures and getting the most performance out of your engine. You want to remember to lean by 1 hour increments, that's clockwise. I would go with the high-speed needle first and then your low speed. When you're tuning your low speed, you want to get good throttle response. If the engine cuts out and comes back when you're leaning your low speed, that means you're going too lean. If it bogs down when you punch the throttle, it means you're going too rich. So I'm going to go ahead, fire it up, and show you guys what it's supposed to sound like when it's tuned right. So here we go. Alright guys, so it's all done. Stay tuned for more instructional videos from Nitrorcx.